Welcome to the last business meeting of the 2014 year for your Weld County School District 6 Board of Education. It's Monday, December 8th, 2014. This meeting will now come to order. Will you please join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Brea?
Mr. DeWitt?
Present.
Mr. Hafley?
Present.
Mr. Hall?
Present.
Mr. Lydiak?
Present.
Dr. Richard?
Present.
Mr. Richardson?
Present.
Mrs. Solis?
Present.
7 members are present.
Thank you. The next item that we will be considering is the hearing of persons desiring to speak before the Board of Education. Ms. Brea, do we have anyone who's indicated an interest in speaking at this time? Thank you very much. Ms. Brea, how about offering us the work session report?
Chief Financial Officer Megan Sponsler, Director of Finance Mandy Hydock, and I. Bailey Auditor Steve Collins presented the comprehensive annual financial report. Mr. Collins gave an overview of the audit conducted on the district finances and stated that the district is in a positive financial position. He commended Ms. Sponsler and Ms. Hydock and their department for their assistance to I. Bailey to conduct a successful audit. Board President Roger DeWitt opened discussion for board member comments, updates, and observations, and a review of calendar items and upcoming events. Human Resources Coordinator Annette Overton facilitated the discussion regarding the draft of the strategic plan goals. Board members had time for discussion. President DeWitt led the agenda planning discussion and planning for the January 2015 board all-day work session, and that concluded the work session.
Thank you. The next item is the approval of the agenda. Dr. Richard?
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 remove the contract for Hudspeth Associates from the agenda and approve the rest of the agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, Ms. Brea. We'll have the opportunity to pursue this Hudspeth contract after a little bit more work is to be done, and probably pick this up at the next meeting. Roll call, Ms. Brand. If we're ready, I'm sorry.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard? Aye. Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time in getting that typed into the record. The next item is the approval of the consent agenda, and that motion you'll find on page 7, I believe.
I move that the Board of Education of Weld County School District 6 approve items as presented on the consent agenda and authorize the officers to sign any and all contracts.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, Ms. Brand.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard? Aye. Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Mr. Eads, I believe it's time to talk a little bit about Prairie Heights Middle School project update, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. This is one of the more fun things I get to do, and let's talk to you about this great new building that's going up. If you'll look at the screen, and Teresa, would you click back to the logo? Because I'm not sure that we've seen this before. So this is what the logo of the school will be, Prairie Heights Middle School, Hawks. And that was a result of a lot of work on the students and staff's part to come up with that result. We do have some pictures to show you. And you can see there's a lot of progress on the building. This is actually the front elevation, kind of looking to the west-northwest. You can see that structure is basically in place. The yellow color is the foam coating on the building, and then that's followed by some of the masonry skin. This is an interior shot. This looks like the cafeteria area, and the opening to the right will be access to the kitchen and preparation areas. And you can see the open areas to the left of this picture will be doors with a patio outside that students can, in good weather, go outside, and that's facing west. They'll have a view of the mountains, be able to have their lunch out there. This is the view looking down from one of the clear stories that will let a lot of light into the interior of the building. This is a view from the other side of the clear story. You can see the stairway up. This is a hallway shot. I'm not sure exactly where it is. Second floor, going towards the library, I think. So you can see these are classroom windows on the interior. They're set high enough so that students sitting at desks won't be distracted by activity in the hallway, but that adults can look in and see what's happening in the room. And it will also let a lot of light from the interior of the building into the classrooms. Again, masonry column work. I think this is near the elevator shaft. You can see the masonry skin. This is actually on the north side of the building. You can see the brick and masonry units are going up and starting to get a look at what the building will look like in its finished coloration. This is actually the main parking lot, not yet paved. We're still hoping to get that paved before they close the asphalt plants for the winter. And as soon as that's paved, we'll try to offer public tour of the building, because we'd like the asphalt to be in place, or otherwise there's a pretty big risk of mud. It'll be either muddy or icy. So if we can get some asphalt down, then we'll have a public tour and invite people to come and take a look at the facility. And there's a front elevation and some of the colors you'll see around the main entrance. And we're still on target to open August of 2015. Other activities, we're far along with our furniture, fixture, and equipment provider, Officescapes, and actually getting to specific room inventories and checklists, music instrument storage, those kind of details. The 65th Avenue South route is now open. The stoplight is not quite operational. We do have everything installed and are waiting for the final electrical approval to put power to that stop signal, and that'll be hopefully up in the next few days. You might notice, if you go by the site, some rough grading on the practice field, so the final configuration of the site is beginning to take place, and you'll be able to see what it's going to look like in the near future. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I think that's kind of an overview of where we're at now. Approaching 60% complete, so.
Great. Thank you very much for that information. Dr. Richard, I just saw that number 7.
60% complete, and would you say at budget?
Yeah, on time, under budget, and no litigation so far.
Okay, that's the phrase.
Is there a mantra that's associated with this? Okay, let's keep saying that. Very good.
Yeah.
Great. Any other comments?
Thanks for the chance to repeat.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, the next item is involving Greeley West High School abatement project. And Director of Support Services Brad Johnson and Facilities Project Manager Ken Hoyland, and is our LH Engineering Rep Travis Guret here also this evening?
He's not here today.
Okay.
He's mostly associated with the actual abatement. This particular contract is for the putback.
Great.
After the abatement occurs. I think he'll be here when we bring the abatement contract back.
Right. Thank you.
So,
gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Superintendent Eads, ladies and gentlemen of the board, good evening. This cash grant from BEST started, we applied for it a year and a half ago. Now it's time to get serious, and it's going to be a 2-summer project, which I'll let Mr. Hoyland, who's the project manager, go through some of the highlights of the project that's going to take 2 summers to do. But in fact, I'll just let you take it.
Okay.
We opened bids on October 31st of this year. Mark Young Construction came in as the low bidder at $652,798 out of the 5 bids. The beginning of the base scope will start May 15th, 2015, with the completion date of August 6th of 2015. There's 2 alternates with that. Alternate 1 and 2 will start May 9th of 2016 and completion date of August 6th, 2016. Prior to the beginning of the May 11th, 15 date, we're going to bring in 4 portable buildings, 8 classrooms, to help ease some of the congestion of the students for the short length of time. Mark Young Construction, of course, his contract includes everything after the abatement is done. They're going to tear out walls. They'll be putting new walls in, flooring, paint, a lot of architectural stuff. So hopefully that helps. Real comfortable with the firm. We did get an email from them agreeing to the price, the dates and everything, so.
So if we can entertain any questions, please.
Mr. Eads?
Would you just explain why it's in 2 phases and what's really in phase 2?
Phase 1 is the complete south classrooms of the school. There's, gosh, I can't remember how many classrooms, but we're going to do the classrooms first. That's the base. The alternate 1 and 2 is the office area and then 4 additional classrooms that are on the other side. We have to do it in 2 phases because we can't shut down the whole building, get it open in the length of time. Comfortable with the way it's going to be handled in the 2 phases.
Other comments or questions? Mr. Hall?
Maybe, in looking at this, what's the difference between the 2 RFQ or expenditures that we're voting on tonight? Between the abatement for Hudspeth and Associates and this one? Because I can't find a difference in the way it's written up here.
Okay. Mark Young is the putback, the general contractor. Okay. He's the one that's actually going to go back in, put in the flooring, the walls, the lighting, the ceilings,
Okay.
the putback. The other company is the actual abatement company that will close off, contain, test, and remove the asbestos.
Okay.
That's the difference between
So
the
that's
two contractors.
Hudspeth and Associates?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And we're still negotiation on their contract. We just got some real fine stuff we're working through on them.
So we've withdrawn that for this evening's consideration. We'll pick that up another time, perhaps next time.
We'll be back in January with that.
We'll be here. That'll be good.
Okay. And I know we
Further
removed that, I just was
Yeah.
curious as to why.
Wayne, as far as the phases, how we want to do, we want to concentrate on the classrooms first, get them done.
That's where the students are.
That's where we need to be.
Yeah. Perfect.
Dr. Richard?
And just a real quick, going back over the cost of this entire project from District 6's viewpoint and from what we received from the BEST grant.
Okay.
A little over 400.
Yeah, it's our part in it, fully maxed out from the cash grant from CDE is a little over $400,000 is our share of this.
It's a $2 million grant,
But, yeah.
and 400 is what we would have to come up.
Which is a
Heck of
really
a deal.
great deal for
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Cheap money.
It's excited. I can't
Yeah.
wait to get it abated.
Right, and important work to do.
Right.
For the entire building.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I know we've said this before, but I think we can't say it enough to thank you and your team for being involved in that proposal to the BEST grants and to have received it, a significant portion of the BEST grant monies in the state, and now to see it in fruition. We just have to thank you.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
So the, have we had a motion on this at this time? May I ask for that motion?
I move that the Board of Education of Will County School District 6 approve the contract with Mark Young Construction, Inc. for the general contractor for the Greeley West High School abatement project not to exceed $652,798 as presented.
Second.
It's moved. Now it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, Ms. Bryant?
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak?
Aye.
Dr. Richard?
Aye.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
And the motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll see you again.
Yes.
The item number 3 under this is the Greeley West High School abatement project, and that item has been withdrawn for just a little bit more finishing up. The next item will be the October student count update, and Chief Financial Officer Megan Sponsler is here to catch us up on that update.
Good evening, President DeWitt, Superintendent Eads, and members of the board. Tonight I'm bringing you some information on the October student count. I know it feels like October 1st was a long time ago, but in our world, when we are actually submitting the data to CDE, it's a long, long process, and we actually just finished that process a few weeks ago. So here is the information that we have submitted to CDE, and I think you have had a heads up on this, but we did exceed our projections. We had projected growth in our student count, and we exceeded those projections by 241 students. So that is pretty significant. Overall, we saw an increase of 740 funded student FTE compared to last year. That is equivalent to 3.7%. That is the highest percentage increase that I have seen over the past 10 years. Just to give you some perspective, and that's really the most data that I have to look at to compare, so I could do some more research and go backwards further, but in the last 10 years, that's the highest increase percentage-wise. So of course, when we have more students, we have additional revenue that comes into the district. You have already approved expenditures to spend some of that money with the purchase of new computers and also the wireless access points. So those projects, actually I know the computers arrived in pallets this week. Great. So those are sitting at our OIT office, and they are starting to work on getting those all ready to go out to the schools. We've also had to hire quite a few new teachers and staff, because with new students you can't just cram them all in there. So we've added a lot of new teachers. And then we also had to buy some additional curriculum materials. We needed especially math books and calculators and those kinds of things. So we've spent a lot of that new revenue already on just the basics to keep the school year going. Another question I've been getting is, where is the growth? What schools are seeing the most growth? Well, I think the most obvious one is Salida del Sol. That is a brand new school, as you all know, and they opened their doors with 595.5 student FTE, so very, very close to their projection of 600 students to start the year. Dos Rios also increased by 85 student FTE. It's interesting, Dos Rios and Centennial seem to alternate every year. One of them grows and the other one shrinks. And so I guess this is Dos Rios' year to grow. Frontier Academy increased enrollment by 69 student FTE. Scott Elementary increased enrollment by 67 FTE. Winograd K-8 increased enrollment by 56 FTE. And Central High School also increased by 56 FTE. Meeker Elementary increased by 55 FTE, West High School by 51 FTE, and Northridge by 48.5 FTE. Also, Engage, as we've been working to grow that program, Engage increased by 39 FTE. So that's a pretty good growth. Several schools stayed really within 1 or 2 students of where they were last year, so that's always a good sign. But then we did have a few schools that saw some enrollment declines. As I mentioned earlier, Centennial Elementary, they declined by 30 students. Heath Middle School declined by 40 students. Shawsheen Elementary declined by 40 students. And Brentwood saw a decline of 129 students. And that is primarily due to the opening of Salida del Sol. And then when you look at Romero and East Memorial, if you combine those two schools from last year, they saw a decline of 214 student FTE. And again, that is due to Salida del Sol opening. So enrollment projections are always challenging, and we work really hard to study those trends and to make the best guesses that we can. It's, I think, good news that we have more students than we expected. That's new revenue. But I also think that's a really good indicator for our city. The economy is improving. We're seeing a lot of building happening. So I think that's really positive news for our schools and for our community. I would also like to thank Candy Headley. She's our student data specialist. She is the one that does all of this work, and she spends hours and hours and hours combing through student data, and she looks at every single student's schedule, so to make sure that we can count them. So thank you to Candy. And at this point, I would ask if you have any questions.
Comments, questions? Mr. Hall.
A comment. I think it's great. It's a great trend, like you were saying, for our community. And hats off to everyone that has any, you know, the teachers, the administrators, the whole, everyone, the bus drivers. Because it wasn't that long ago when we were sitting in the boardroom trying to figure out how we were going to deal with 600 kids going to Salida del Sol. Well, we ended up with a 33 student growth overall total, and less than 200, or basically 200 difference between what was expected to be 600 less in East Memorial and Bella Romero. So hats off to the marketing. I know Teresa helped, lots of people helped, and the principals, Justin and John, and just across the board. And I think this is a great first step coming back, so thank you.
Yes, Mr. Hall. Any other comments at this time? Questions? Ms. Sponsler, thank you very much for your time and for bringing us good news. Appreciate it.